In the quiet suburb of Riverside Heights, California, nestled between manicured lawns and pastel houses, the community lived by a simple code: smiles, small talk, and staying out of each other's business. But in May 2025, that illusion shattered. A vibrant 29-year-old woman named Ruby Sosa, beloved by her neighbors and adored on social media, was found dead inside her two-story townhouse. Her body brutally beaten, her skull fractured, and her phone wiped clean. This wasn't just another domestic dispute gone wrong. This was something darker, something premeditated, and it took the nation by storm. Ruby Sosa wasn't just any woman. She was a lifestyle influencer, a successful entrepreneur, and a newly engaged fiancé to her longtime boyfriend, Jordan Wells, a charismatic but mysterious local fitness coach. To the public eye, they were couple goals. But behind the filtered photos and vacation vlogs was a relationship hanging by threads, full of secrets, silent treatments, and sinister accusations. It all started on May 2nd, when Ruby failed to show up for a brand collaboration shoot in Los Angeles. Her manager tried calling her repeatedly but received no response. At first, it was dismissed as a possible scheduling error, until hours turned into days. Her last Instagram story was posted at 10:41 p.m. the night before, showing a glass of red wine, a candlelit table, and the caption, "One more night of peace." That caption would haunt investigators later. 2 days later, Ruby's friend and assistant, Marissa Lane, drove to her home. She knocked. No answer. But something felt off. The mailbox was overflowing. The porch light was still on day and night. Marissa called 911. When officers entered the residence, they found Ruby's body in the master bedroom. She had been dead for approximately 36 to 48 hours, according to the coroner. There was no sign of forced entry. But there was something chilling. A single engagement ring placed on her nightstand, smeared with blood. The news hit social media like wildfire. Hashtags like #JusticeForRuby and #WhoKilledRuby started trending within hours. Influencers posted teary tributes. Crime TikTok went into a frenzy. People demanded answers. But answers were slow to come. Jordan Wells, her fiancé, was the obvious first suspect. But when he showed up at the police station, he was calm. He claimed they had a fight that night, and Ruby told him to get out. He left around 10:30 p.m. according to him, and hadn't heard from her since. When asked if she had enemies, Jordan smirked and said, "Ruby didn't know how to keep her mouth shut. She had a lot of haters." That one sentence flipped everything. Police began digging into Ruby's past and learned that she had recently filed a harassment complaint against an anonymous Instagram user who had been stalking her online for months. The messages were dark, violent, and obsessive. They stopped for a while, but reappeared shortly before her murder. More questions arose. Why was there no sign of forced entry? Why were her phone records wiped clean after 10:42 p.m.? And who had access to her security system login? Investigators soon discovered that Ruby's security camera footage had been deleted, both locally and on the cloud. The tech team was able to partially recover some data, revealing a shadowy figure entering her home around 11:13 p.m., a full 40 minutes after Jordan claimed to have left. But the face was obscured. The footage was grainy. Was it Jordan returning? Or someone else who had a key? And why did Ruby text her friend earlier that evening? "If anything happens to me tonight, don't trust the story." That cryptic message would serve as the foundation for a murder investigation layered in betrayal, obsession, and a twisted web of secrets nobody saw coming. This wasn't just a homicide. It was a murder with a message. As the investigation into Ruby Sosa's murder deepened, the list of suspects began to grow. What initially seemed like a tragic domestic homicide quickly turned into a case filled with contradictions, secret relationships, and digital footprints that refused to be buried. The primary suspect, Jordan Wells, Ruby's fiancé, maintained that he left her home at 10:30 p.m. on the night of the murder. He even provided a dashcam video showing him driving away from her street. But investigators found a major issue with his alibi. The timestamp on the dashcam was manually edited. experts determined it had been altered, something only someone with technical knowledge could do. Why would he tamper with the footage unless he had something to hide? But Jordan wasn't the only one under scrutiny. Detectives uncovered that Ruby had recently been in contact with Evan Griggs, a former flame she had dated briefly during a break in her relationship with Jordan. Evan, a tattoo artist from Long Beach, had a documented history of violence and a restraining order from an ex-girlfriend. Texts between Ruby and Evan suggested that they had rekindled something behind Jordan's back. One message from Evan read, "Tell him the truth or I will. You said we had a plan, Ruby." Police also discovered that Evan's phone pinged near Ruby's house the night she was killed. But he claimed he was only driving past the area, insisting that he never got out of his car. However, CCTV footage from a gas station showed Evan purchasing gloves and duct tape just an hour before the murder window. And then came the twist no one expected. A burner phone was found in a storm drain 3 blocks from Ruby's house. Forensic experts traced it back to several calls made to Ruby in the days before her death. Messages from the phone revealed threats, including one that said, "Delete that post or I'll shut you up permanently." That same message was sent just 24 hours before her murder. Police believe the burner phone may have been used by someone trying to scare Ruby, or worse, someone watching her. Ruby's digital life told an even more unsettling story. Her private diary entries on a locked Google Drive were recovered. She wrote about being followed. She described hearing footsteps outside her window. She said someone had entered her home while she was asleep but left without stealing anything. In one entry she wrote, "He says he loves me, but love doesn't look like this. If I go missing, don't believe a single word he says." The he was never clearly identified. Another damning piece of evidence was Ruby's security system logs. Though the cloud footage was deleted, the login records showed the system was accessed remotely at 11:09 p.m., just minutes before the mysterious figure appeared in the partial video. That access came from Jordan's known IP address, linking him directly to the scene even after he supposedly left. But when confronted with this evidence, Jordan lawyered up and refused to answer further questions. At the same time, Ruby's best friend Marissa dropped a bombshell. Ruby was planning to break off the engagement. She had allegedly discovered something disturbing on Jordan's iPad. Photos, messages, and videos involving another woman, and possibly others. Police identified the woman as Chloe Bennett, one of Jordan's fitness clients. Chloe initially denied any romantic involvement, but eventually confessed to a months-long affair. She claimed Jordan had told her Ruby was toxic and unstable, and that he planned to leave her soon. But Ruby found out, and had threatened to expose him publicly just days before she died. Now, police were staring at a dangerous motive: revenge and silence. As detectives pieced the puzzle together, a disturbing theory emerged. They believed Jordan had discovered Ruby's communications with Evan and feared public humiliation. With his personal brand and gym business on the line, he may have decided to eliminate the threat permanently. But with Evan lurking in the shadows and an untraceable burner phone involved, things weren't so simple. Who truly murdered Ruby Sosa? Was it a jealous ex-boyfriend, a betrayed fiancé, or someone else hiding behind a screen? The deeper police dug, the darker the truth became, and what they found next would turn the case into a national obsession. After months of combing through digital trails, witness interviews, and psychological profiles, the police finally moved in. On April 18, 2025, they arrested Jordan Wells on suspicion of first-degree murder. The announcement made national headlines. Public opinion was divided. Some believed Jordan was an innocent man caught in a tragic web of jealousy and false accusations. Others were certain he was a controlling, image-obsessed manipulator who snapped when Ruby threatened to reveal his secrets. Police presented a mountain of circumstantial evidence: the altered dashcam footage, remote access to Ruby's security system, texts threatening Ruby from an unknown number traced back to a burner phone, and the suspicious purchase history of chloroform, gloves, and duct tape, bought using Jordan's business credit card. But the case wasn't airtight. There was no DNA, no fingerprints, and no eyewitness who saw Jordan inside the house that night. His defense team argued that Evan Griggs, Ruby's ex-boyfriend, had far more violent tendencies and a clear motive. The trial began in June 2025 and was streamed live, capturing the attention of millions. Ruby's family sat in the front row every day, clutching photos of her smiling face. The prosecution painted Jordan as emotionally abusive, controlling, and obsessed with maintaining a perfect image. They claimed he viewed Ruby as a brand asset more than a partner, and when she threatened to walk away and expose his infidelity, he silenced her. The defense, however, tore into the investigation. They accused the LAPD of confirmation bias, saying detectives zeroed in on Jordan too early and ignored other leads. They brought up Evan's threatening messages, his presence in the neighborhood that night, and his criminal past. They also dropped a major surprise. Ruby had recently joined a true crime podcasting group, and one of the podcast topics was about staging a perfect murder. Jordan's lawyers suggested she had fabricated danger to generate content or had possibly faked paranoia for attention. But that argument didn't hold long. The most shocking moment of the trial came when prosecutors revealed a voicemail Ruby left for her friend just 2 days before her death. In a trembling voice, Ruby said, "If anything happens to me, please look at Jordan's phone. Found things that terrify me. He said he'd ruin me if I ever spoke out." The courtroom fell silent. Still, the jury had to consider whether there was reasonable doubt. And Evan Griggs' presence in the case provided just enough of it. The defense pushed hard on the fact that investigators never fully ruled Evan out. After 5 weeks, the jury returned a split decision. Jordan Wells was found guilty of obstruction of justice and evidence tampering, but the jury was hung on the charge of murder, with a vote of 9-3 in favor of conviction. The judge declared a mistrial on the murder charge. Public outrage exploded. Ruby's family called it a failure of the justice system. Jordan was sentenced to 3 years for obstruction and tampering, essentially a slap on the wrist. He walked out of the courthouse with a smirk, flanked by his legal team, denying any involvement in Ruby's death. But then came the next bombshell. Just 2 weeks after the trial, Evan Griggs was found dead in a motel room in what was first ruled a suicide. But the details didn't add up. There were signs of a struggle, surveillance footage of a man in a hoodie leaving the room, and traces of blood not matching Evan's on the scene. The case was reopened. Now, in a chilling twist, both Jordan and Evan are gone from the narrative, one behind bars, one 6 feet under. And Ruby Sosa's murder remains technically unsolved. To this day, her family continues to push for justice. Her mother, Gloria, started a foundation called Justice for Ruby, aimed at helping victims of digital stalking and emotional abuse. Her story has been covered by Dateline, 48 Hours, and now Your Screen. But the haunting question remains: did the Real killer walk free? Or was justice served in the shadows? In the quiet suburb of Riverside Heights, California, nestled between manicured lawns and pastel houses, the community lived by a simple code: smiles, small talk, and staying out of each other's business. But in May 2025, that illusion shattered. A vibrant 29-year-old woman named Ruby Sosa, beloved by her neighbors and adored on social media, was found dead inside her 2-story townhouse. Her body brutally beaten, her skull fractured, and her phone wiped clean. This wasn't just another domestic dispute gone wrong. This was something darker, something premeditated, and it took the nation by storm. Ruby Sosa wasn't just any woman. She was a lifestyle influencer, a successful entrepreneur, and a newly engaged fiancé to her longtime boyfriend, Jordan Wells, a charismatic but mysterious local fitness coach. To the public eye, they were couple goals. But behind the filtered photos and vacation vlogs was a relationship hanging by threads, full of secrets, silent treatments, and sinister accusations. It all started on May 2nd, when Ruby failed to show up for a brand collaboration shoot in Los Angeles. Her manager tried calling her repeatedly but received no response. At first, it was dismissed as a possible scheduling error, until hours turned into days. Her last Instagram story was posted at 10:41 p.m. the night before, showing a glass of red wine, a candlelit table, and the caption, "One more night of peace." That caption would haunt investigators later. 2 days later, Ruby's friend and assistant Marissa Lane drove to her home. She knocked. No answer. But something felt off. The mailbox was overflowing. The porch light was still on day and night. Marissa called 911. When officers entered the